start off with probably something that you come across very, very commonly, right? I know one thing that uniquely defines you is how you establish a business with a very strong social cause. So can you tell us a bit about the history of Baraka Sheabutter and then how it came out to be? That would be great.
Well, thanks so much. Like most businesses, it happens partly with intent, partly with circumstance, and and a bunch of other things coming in. Baraka really started. Two things drove the start of Baraka. One, my founder is from northern Ghana, and we were married, and we're often bringing things back and helping the women in villages around where she grew up in northern Ghana, and the women basically said, we want income, not charity. In other words, we love that you bring us stuff, but, we want to earn an income, and, we don't want to be dependent on you because you don't come sometimes, and we need to take more control. And my wife was making some products out of shea butter, and I was bringing it back, and because I was doing consulting. I had a consulting and training agency, the Corporate Social Responsibility Training Institute. And really, we were on the cutting edge of theory and practice in the space where business meets community. It was, it was 20 years ago or more, around the time of the Millennium Development Goals, before the Sustainable Development Goals. And, business was realizing that there was a role to play on social and environmental issues, and the leading businesses were finding that didn't have to be a cost, it could be a strategic opportunity. So I was consulting and training on that all over the world, and Baraka sort of started up as a hobby, almost as a project, and my wife was making stuff from shea butter and selling a bit, and we started bringing back more. I thought, well, if people want to buy it, maybe we can find a way to sell it. It'll give more income for the women and in the community, and that's how it started. And it really just puttered along slowly for years. It was, I think, 2012 or 2013 before we got our first container load, and and that lasted us 2 years. We just weren't selling that much. My main focus was on consulting and training. I was doing lectures and programs all over the world, and what I started to find was that the way I had built Baraka, the way we had aligned social impact, environmental stewardship, and business strategy and brand was making a great story. It was making a great case study for my lectures. Whether I was lecturing in Dubai or Sydney or New York or wherever, people were resonating with this story because it was this alignment. And I'd started to put a little more attention to it, and then Corona hit. And I was in Ghana when the world slammed shut in March of 2020. On the flight back, like everybody, I had no idea what was going to happen, but I'm trying to figure out scenarios and how do I survive? How do I survive? Financially, how do we survive, as a family, how do we all survive? Because nobody knew what was happening. So there was one trend that I was quite aware of, in that, our market is the natural and organic skincare and cosmetics sector. And in that sector, people are increasingly interested in, what goes into what I put on my skin and in my hair, and, are there ingredients that I can't pronounce? And I want to know where these ingredients come from. And, I want to know the story on them. And Baraka was providing that story. We were providing it in in a way that people wasn't a fancy way, but a lot of authentic pictures and videos, and I was taking them, so they were very amateurish, but they were authentic. On the way home on that flight, I realized that our market was mostly doing bricks and mortar and craft fairs and that whole area. And I could see the world shutting down. And I thought, well, that's going to change. I never dreamt it would change for this long, but I thought that's going to change. And we're going to have a few months where our customers are not going to be able to sell product. And I could see that people were being sent home. And I knew there was this growing interest in DIY in the natural and organic skincare market. People wanted to make their own. They wanted to know more about it. So literally on the flight home, I came up with this strategy of taking our sizes. We didn't have a thing under 5 kilograms at that point. I took them down to 500 grams and up, and started to work out a marketing strategy and also an order fulfillment strategy that would let us market. When we're selling larger amounts, we had fewer orders. They were bigger. We had different fulfillment challenges. Once we started to go down, we had different we had to get faster and sharper on our marketing, but we also had to get more efficient on our fulfillment. And I think it was around that time, maybe sooner, that I started working with late shipment, because you guys were you had such a clear value proposition. There was no cost to having you monitor my shipments and and catch the ones that were late and delayed, and I knew there was a lot more you could do, and I just never got around until recently to really take advantage of more what you could do. But that really drove the start of Baraka. And as we started to reach out more into some D2C, but I also call it a quasi D2C, because we're selling to people who make their own product, or maybe they make it and sell a little bit online, or to share it with family. So it's not quite a consumer, but they were really resonating with brand story and that authenticity, and the fact that we could demonstrate the impact their purchases were having. And the other thing that I think is really important is, we're very clear. We understand very clearly that Baraka on its own has zero impact. Baraka on its own will not have any impact on women in communities in Ghana, period. We only have that impact because our customers buy into that process. And so we try and give our customers content that support them in their conscious purchasing decisions, and allow them, for our business customers, we try and give them content that can help support them in their own marketing, so that their customers can know the impact that they're having. So we've even created an entire framework for it called Your Impact, because it's not our impact. I mean, some people give our business credit for it, and that's just the way it goes. But our business works when we connect social and environmental impact in our far upstream reaches in the impoverished rural villages where we work, with impact for our customers. So our customers are getting high quality product that they can know and see where it comes from, product that their customers love, and they get that feel good from buying and using those products, because they know they're making that impact. That was a long answer. I think I answered more than one question. Sorry.
Absolutely. I mean, that really was very, very informational, though, right? It covered quite a few of the other questions I had too. Thank you so much for that. I mean, story is not only inspiring, but also was so clearly articulated, which lets fans know that it's not always like a straight path from A to B, right? Like a combination of a variety of decisions, sometimes taken on the fly, sometimes like the collective impact that the customers as well as the suppliers have on the ecosystem as a whole. Thank you so much for that. I think related to that, right? An interesting part that I read about your business, I think in one of the other conversations that your business has was that you started out primarily doing retail direct to consumers, but then kind of branched out from there to also doing white label raw material sale to larger businesses who in turn have their own retail labels, right? So how was the transformation like? The reason I asked this is because we work with customers both on the B2C side and also the B2B side. And we would love for brands to let us know a little bit, especially brands which have worked on both sides, to actually let us know what you personally feel are the differences and how much you had to change the way things operate on your end to cater to those different markets.
Okay, well, thanks. That's really a good question, Sri. And I think so. We look at the natural and organic skincare market as, you know, there are some major players in there. It's a rapidly growing market. It's it's many tens of billions of dollars and growing rapidly. And there's major players, and then there are, you know, smaller businesses, some even micro businesses that are buying ingredients, buying butters and oils, making products and selling them either wholesale, either through their website, again, in fairs, craft fairs and exhibits and things. And then there's the DIY market, people who are buying essentially to make for themselves and their families and maybe selling a little bit. And then underneath and supporting everyone except the DIY market as the consumers, who are buying finished products to use. And you often see consumers moving from consumers to DIY and back, or you see the micro businesses who are making some products, they buy some others. But so our initial foray into that market was with the small and micro businesses. People were buying 25 kilos of shea butter or 5 kilos of shea butter. And, we started out with just shea butter, and then we added on cocoa butter and coconut oils and palm oils, but all of them with, a very strong, easy to understand and defensible origin story, supply chain story. We can tell you where it comes from and the impact that it has. So we were, in essence, giving white label branding and marketing content and tools to our customers to allow them to market our products. Some of our customers were using our brand. It's ironic in a way that probably our biggest competitor in the US online market right now is a company called Brambleberry, and they're also one of our biggest customers. So they're actually marketing our branded products on their site, and they're a wonderful company, just great people. And I think they recognize the impact branding, the halo effect that the Baraka brand can have on other brands, because it's not easy for a lot of companies. Consumers, I used to teach this when I was a professor of corporate social responsibility. Everyone is expecting more from businesses. Globally, there's an expectation that business should have a positive social impact, and it should be an effective steward of the environment at the same time as it's producing profits and shareholder value. And that's not always an easy thread to follow. It's not an easy needle to thread, because those things, often the social and the environmental, are seen as costs rather than contributors to value. And Baraka has really focused on aligning those, and we can pass that alignment on to our customers, and that when they're buying high quality products from us, they're getting that brand story, they're getting that impact story that lets them satisfy those demands of their customers. Because more and more of you see studies, 60, 70%, 50% of the global consumer market is integrating social impact and sustainability into their purchasing and decision-making process. Not that it's 100%. I mean, it's never going to be 100%, but it's part of the decision-making process, conscious or unconscious. So what we try and do is supply our customer with the tools that let them know, let them communicate to their market and their customers that they're making conscious buying decisions, and the products that they're selling to their customers have a very strong, impactful, and ethical supply chain, that they're real positive contributors to the Sustainable Development Goals, for instance. Now, we were doing that, and then we started. We had a lot of people that were coming and wanting more from us. They would love to see Baraka branded consumer products, and so we've slowly or very cautiously dipped our toe in that market. We started with black soaps, which there are a lot of sort of ad hoc black soap brands and suppliers in North America, but I mean, black soap is an amazing product, and there's a big appetite for it. So we've started doing more in that space. We've just recently launched recipe kits. So recipes that for the DIY market, there's so many people want to make their own products, and they often don't know where to start. So we're giving them kits where they can basically get everything they need except maybe a little bit of essential oil or something, and make their own products. Simple ones that I can even I can even make.
Awesome. Again, that was so enlightening. The fact that brands typically think about being just one or the other, right? The fact that you can be successful both on the B2C as well as the B2B front without really being afraid about one part cannibalizing the other part of your business, that I think will help a lot of brands out. So in that same regard, right? You touched on it quite a bit, especially with your background in CSR teaching for several years, and also your founder's background actually coming from the place where your products get made in Ghana. So one of the things we wanted to know about was how you managed to balance the social impact of the business versus actually being profitable, and both on the marketing front, like how much you push the social impact of it, and also when you're running a profitable business, how much of it you, of course, like you already touched on, it's important for the business to be profitable and growing for you to continue making that social impact, right? So how do you achieve a balance with those things? You already mentioned it was like a very, very tight rope to walk on. But what advice do you generally have for brands, especially the ones that hope to create an outside social impact like you do?
That is so key, and I'm lucky in that I have thought about and worked in this space for ages, and I think what's key, and this is I give this advice to businesses worldwide when I used to do consulting and lectures, is to find that alignment, find where social impact is actually drives value rather than cost, where environmental stewardship creates value rather than creates a cost. I did a keynote lecture, I don't know, maybe it was a year or so ago. It was a Zoom lecture, and I basically stopped being a professor when COVID hit, because being a Zoom professor is no fun. But I got talked into doing this one, and basically it was on the theme that the path to profit has shifted. And underneath that is, it used to be that the path to profit was simply by optimizing all the gazintos with what comes out. So the more efficient you could be at creating and getting something to market that the market wanted to buy, the more profitable you'd be. And expectations around social and environmental impact and management started to work their way in, the first response for business was to treat them as a cost. So you really strategically work to minimize them, and you treat them as a cost. And the path to profit went from where your business is to your profit, and social issues and environmental issues were like little detours that you sent somebody else on, but you tried not to let them get in the way of getting your business down the path to profit. The reality today is that those expectations around social and environmental performance are higher, but at the same time as they're higher, the financial performance expectations of investors and bankers and everybody else is higher. So it's harder and harder for a business to thread that needle, to do all of them. Traditionally, business thinking around social impact and social responsibility was, let's find something good to do, something that's good for society, and we'll do that, and then we'll do our business. And often they were totally divorced. And one in my consulting, a lot of what I did was, I remember one time in Indonesia, I was working with a globally recognized financial services brand, and they were in Indonesia because the mining, the oil and gas, the forestry, the industrial sectors were growing, and it was moving villages from subsistence economies to cash-based economies. Households all over were making that transition, and this company was selling financial services. So they, small banking and, savings and loans and insurance and deposit taking and checks, all of those. And, but largely to customers whose family history was, generations, millennia of subsistence level household economies. So they were making that shift. And there was a challenge because, they're having to educate these new consumers so they can take proper advantage of what the services they provide. And the consumers who didn't understand that would be efficient users of those financial services, and often would get so frustrated with life in this new cash economy that they would run back to their subsistence economy. And so this company went in and they had established a very impressive inner city feeding program in Jakarta. They went in and they said, we want to be responsible. There's so much, poverty and nutrition, especially amongst youth and school children, is such a big deal in Jakarta. That's going to be our focus. And they were spending a lot on it. And it was a big focus, and they took pride in it. They were having a big social impact. After I looked at their whole operation, I sat down with them and I said, you're making a very valuable social contribution with your inner city feeding program. There is no doubt, but show me how that creates business value for you. And, there's some reputational issues and a few things, but it was really hard to make that connection between their social impact and their profits. I said, I've heard you tell me that one of your challenges, you're in a fast-growing marketplace with all these households moving to cash-based economies, but there's a lot of competition to get their business, and when you get it, there's a lot of hand-holding. It's difficult because they're not really an informed customer, so they're not getting the value that you'd like to see them get, that they could potentially get. And I said, so they're, being much less efficient than they could be at managing their finances, managing their household economies. Said, and often they'll slide back into a subsistence economy because they just don't have that level of understanding. And I had actually, some of this thinking came out of some work we did, in Southern Africa, but this whole idea of personal and economic life skills. So we were running families through short courses on that very thing. How do you transition from a subsistence economy to a cash economy? You now have one or more people in your household earning cash incomes. You've got regular cash coming in. It doesn't all have to be barter or subsistence. How do you manage that? How do you take advantage of savings and loans and insurance and all of these other areas? I said, that is an incredibly valuable service. You're going to do a lot of social good. When you do that, you can, you don't have to do it yourself. You can probably find, an NGO or an organization to do it with. And when you do that, your social good is going to equal or maybe surpass what you were achieving before. But on the business side, you are getting your brand in front of your potential customers and putting yourself and your brand ahead of your competition, and you're getting yourself more educated, and you're getting customers that are better able to use your services, so they're going to get more benefit and you'll have less churn. But that's the sort of thinking that I sat with businesses all over the world and looked at, and they said, okay, you're doing this, but what's in it for your business? Before you embark on a social impact, think about what's in it for your business. It's not wrong to think about what's in it for your business. In fact, if you don't, you're being stupid. You're just being stupid. You're not in business to give money to charity or social impact. You're in business to move your business forward, and your business will move forward better, faster, and more sustainably if you're able to align social and environmental impact with it. So that's my advice for business, and that's what we did and do. So I do not look at social impact as a cost. I look at it as a strategy. I'm going to invest in social impact. Baraka is going to invest in environmental stewardship in ways that have positive impacts, but also impact our business.
I really don't think anybody else we could have chatted with could have put it better, right? Like how the social aspects, the profitable aspects of business need to be aligned with each other rather than being like points of contention. So I love that. I love that advice. I'm sure our viewers will also definitely appreciate that, right? So in that aspect, I mean, just moving on from the social aspects for a bit, right? Like even otherwise, as far as business is concerned, you seem to run a very complicated supply chain, right? You source products from different part of the world. You have customers in different parts of the world. So how has it been managing a complicated supply chain like that, especially with the emphasis that you place on customer experience? So has been a challenge. What have the strategies you have in place to make sure everything runs smoothly behind the scenes?
This is a public forum we're in now, so I won't use any of the 4-letter words that I use to describe some of the chat. It's interesting. I didn't sort of think all this through strategically or make some master plan when we started. It kind of evolved, and but it is challenging. I mean, we work, from the far rural reaches, working with women gathering shea nuts and running. Like last year, we ran, nearly 1,000 person days of economic livelihood training right in villages in northern Guyana, and then taking that through navigating shipping now is so complicated. We've had to add 3 months onto our inventory pipeline, add and finance 3 months on our inventory pipeline just because of shipping challenges. I had a container that was basically ready to ship last October. I used to be able to, 50 to 60 days from having a container ready to ship, and it was at my warehouse in Canada. It was like clockwork, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, but I had a container mid-October. It took us until November 20th to get it on a ship. They're just, ships were full. My logistics supplier messed up on on one, and it got on the ship. I had stuff that I wanted to get to our warehouse before Christmas. Got on the ship. We were promised a 49-day transit. So I think it was January 9th it was supposed to arrive. 2 days after it was on the ship, that had jumped up to, February 7th, I believe. That container still hasn't reached Vancouver. Last week, Friday, it was projected to reach Vancouver on Saturday. Saturday, I went and looked, and they'd added another week to it. And that's just the norm. I had a large customer in the US, and we had a delivery schedule with him. I had a shipment that got stuck in Europe. Normally it's like less than a week, because the containers go from West Africa to Europe, and then there's ships going every week then from Europe to the ports we were shipping to in the US. I had a container sit for 6 weeks. And, it was delayed with my customer. It was just a big inconvenience for everyone. I've had containers sit in the port in the heat here, and, and we have, products that it doesn't spoil the products, but it spoils how they look sometimes when that happens. So, yeah, it is a complex supply chain. I'm slowly figuring and bringing people in. We've partnered with a business that Serengeti Capital. They're a boutique investment bank and operate a lot of businesses here in Ghana, and they've been a big support on the operations side here and providing some back office support. We've I think we've been lucky in that our brand story, our impact story is memorable. And, and e-commerce is about stories now. E-commerce is about brand, and, so that has worked in our favor. We still have a long way to go. I mean, I would, I would rate our brand probably an A or an A+ in terms of brand story and how all the pieces hold together and the authenticity of it, and the competitive advantage it brings us. I probably don't get much higher than a C or a C- when I rate us on our e-commerce capacity, and we're growing. We need to grow more in that, but I also know, we need cash flow to survive. We need to keep surviving. We're heading to market to raise capital, but we're raising it on the strength of our brand, and our brand is by far our biggest asset right now. And so really, we need capital to better leverage the value that we have, the inherent value we have in the brand that we've created, because the brand is expandable. People, consumers want social and environmental impact embedded into what they are buying. Most manufacturers struggle with that because they buy ingredients in a commodity market where the social and environmental brand story of whatever consumer products that they're selling doesn't get back to the far end of the supply chain because they don't have that connection. So what we can do for a lot of those is just, having some of the Baraka branded products, can give them some pieces of that impact story that will help their brand. We're starting to look at carrying food products. Again, people want, they want to trust their supply chain. They want to know the authenticity and impact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, more than anything else, right? I think that answer is going to be reassuring for a lot of our readers. Just to know that even the best brands out there actually face the same challenges that they do, and navigating some of these challenges comes with decisions taken on the flight, right? Thank you so much for that. Maybe
I want to add one more thing, if I can, Sri, and this is so important, is that none of us get it right all the time. We all
Mhm.
make a lot of mistakes. The one
Absolutely.
one thing that I really learned from my time in Silicon Valley and going to school there was that ready, fire, aim approach. Like if you wait until you're going to have it perfect, you're going to get run over by the bus coming behind you. So get out, get moving, watch what you're doing, get better at it, but don't be afraid of mistakes. We all make mistakes. What's important is to learn from them, not to repeat them too many times. But none of us are perfect in business and in
Mhm.
life or anything. And any and our brand isn't perfect. I did a post on our internal, like our Baraka clan Facebook page, and talked about some of the impact we try and have. That we really
Mhm.
believe that business can and should create social value and have a positive environmental impact at the same time as it's creating business profit. And I believe that. I try and live that. Are we perfect at it? Far from it. Do we make mistakes? We make lots of them. I mean, nobody, you can't be perfect at it. We're learning. We try and be transparent about it, but with all things in business, you'll make mistakes.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that is golden advice, right, for all of us as included, any business operating out there. So that being said, I know we've had a chat, maybe some closing words on that same note, advice that you have for other businesses, which is looking to follow the journey that you've taken thus far, and maybe a few words on mateshipman.com based on the relationship we've had.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you and your team, Enosh, and your team. Like I say, my exposure to late shipment was just, you had a very simple value proposition. You really focused on the value you were bringing to my business. It was easy, was simple to understand, it was clear, and it was immediate, but it was that focus on value. And as I got to know you, I realized that value proposition was backed up by incredible service as well. And I really think the core of business is about value proposition. If you are not creating and producing value in a business, you won't succeed. And by value, I don't mean profits. Profits are necessary, but profits are not a value in and of themselves. You get profits by efficiently delivering value to your marketplace. And in Baraka's case, we've defined that value to marketplace beyond just a commodity or a physical product. I mean, our products come with software, they come with brand story, they come with that impact that allows our customers to get more value from them. And if we can't develop and communicate that value proposition, we don't deserve to be in business. But any business, you need to really think, what value are you bringing to the people who buy your goods and services? And how can you bring more? What other value might they want? And how can you bring it to them in a way that you can make money from it? And in doing that, how can you also create value upstream? How can you create value upstream in your supply chain? Because when you can do that efficiently, you can deliver more value downstream. And I mean, one of the things I've realized with Baraka is, when we're efficient at creating that social and environmental impact, our team is happy. I get to work with the brightest and happiest and most committed people, because they love waking up in the morning and knowing that the work that they do makes a difference.
Absolutely. Again, I can't think of a better business to have gotten that advice from, right? A brand that not only, that especially lives the motto of delivering value all around. Thank you so much, Wayne, for this conversation. This is, personally speaking, one of the most enlightening as well as information-rich brand stories that we've done. Again, we are very, very happy to have been have you as part of one of our brand stories, and I'm sure our customers and all our readers will definitely appreciate all the insights you shared. Thanks, Wayne.
Well, thank you so much. And I mean, you know, there's nothing, Baraka and me are not on a pedestal. We've learned by doing, we've learned by making a lot of mistakes. We've learned by having some great people and businesses like yourselves to work from. So, you know, we're all in this together. We learn together, we grow together, we fail together.
Thanks, Wayne. That's again advice that's not only on point, but also something that brands can easily learn from and make sure it's part of it. Right.
Well, thank you. And you know, anything we can do to support it. You know, I'm thrilled to have this opportunity, and you know, I've watched some of your others and learned from them. You've got some amazing stories there. So I've already benefited from watching them. So thank you.
That keeps us motivated to continue doing them. Again, Wayne, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have an amazing day ahead. We are very, very thankful for working with you.
Thank you very much. You take care, and please thank your team for the great service you've been giving us. It's just amazing.
Thank you for that.
Thanks.
Thanks, Wayne.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye.